Hi everyone, I'm Tom Green, lead designer of Fallen, and this is a walkthrough of the game mechanics. Going to kind of give you a flow of how the game works. We have the game set up right now with our shadow track on this side of the table. We've got our light side, brilliant, down to the dark side at night. Experience tokens and dice for the Dungeon Lord. Here is the Dungeon Lord. Right now we're playing as the Archivist of Souls, and you start the game with your ultimate ability charged up. We've drawn 4 random level 1 creatures. The Gibbling, Channeler, Crystalline Horror, and the Plague Beetle are ready to go right now. Here we have some creature decks to upgrade to later in the game, levels 1, 2, and 3. Way down over here, we have power cards for the Dungeon Lord. These are special abilities that let him do unusual things. The power deck starts with 20 cards, a base deck of 20, and adds 10 signature cards for each Dungeon Lord. In this case, 10 Archivist of Soul cards are shuffled in there to kind of make it unique to him. Some fortune points used to gain dice and pay for these power cards. Way back here are the Omen cards. These are the big, heavy-hitting, big, nasty cards the Dungeon Lord can earn. Final Battle, used at the end of the game. These are the critical cards. The hero does not want to pick these up. Each time the hero's armor is damaged and breached, then the hero gains a critical card at the end of the story. Reward tokens, these are the goodies you get for winning challenges. Some fortune for the hero. These are the treasure cards, the big rewards for the heroes if they can claim those. Power cards for the hero are back here. Same thing, core 20 deck, and then 10 signature cards for each hero are shuffled together to create their power deck to draw from. We are playing today as Rannick the Thief. Rannick's got an advantage in agility, small advantage in strength, no advantage for intelligence challenges. This is Rannick's skill deck. You always start with 1 skill, and Rannick's going to go ahead and start with the Burglar skill. That gives him a bonus to agility, so he's going to be even stronger with agility, balancing out some of his weaker skills. We'll see how that turns out. Burglar also gives him a bonus fortune point just for getting it. And he starts with his basic equipment of Hunter's Cloak, Grappling Hook, and Long Knife. And then we have our dice for the hero. The game begins by turning over the Dungeon Lord's character card and reading the quest at the top. In this case, it tells about how the Archivist of Souls is grabbed a book that's going to heal him and free him from the dungeon. The hero then has a choice to walk to the ruins or search for a cave. Hero chooses which one, and the text is read aloud, and at the bottom it sets up where the shadow track is over on this side and gives a bonus to the opposing player. Dungeon Lord's characters flip back over. Ultimate is charged up and ready to go. So the next step is a story card is drawn at random. We have lots and lots of story cards in the game. There are just a ton and more and more and more and more. And there's still about 30% more that still need to be printed out. So you draw one at random. We will grab one wrong step. Dungeon Lord then reads aloud this story card's introduction. In this story, the hero sees a medallion that's on a base with some tiles around it that's encased in glass, and knows it's a trap, but he can't resist going towards that medallion. There's also some sort of heavy footfalls coming from the door that he just entered into this room, so kind of a motivation to get going. So Dungeon Lord reads the introduction and then gives the hero the 2 choices. All the Dungeon Lord reads are the choices. Walk on the white tiles, search for traps. Hero then chooses. Hero chooses to walk on the white tiles. Dungeon Lord then reads aloud what that choice is, and then tells the hero that it's an agility challenge, which is what that symbol means. You can see that in the camera. Story cards put aside, and now the Dungeon Lord rolls the dice. Each challenge starts with the Dungeon Lord rolling dice first. 2 black challenge dice are rolled for every challenge, and the Dungeon Lord then exhausts a creature of their choice. Some creatures have bonuses if there's symbols on them, and it looks like every single one of the creatures we have here are set up for agility. So we have a lot of choices we can do. Let's go ahead and try the Plague Beetle far over here on this side. We exhaust the Plague Beetle. Plague Beetle gives us a red die every time we use it, and it has a bonus for all agility challenges. The hero immediately loses a charge, so the hero's ultimate power is now down, which is a good thing for us. Go ahead and roll these initial dice and see how we start out. Not too bad for these dice. 1, 2, 3, 4 swords. We also have a wound symbol, which means we're going to do a wound to the hero's armor, and that we send over to the hero side. 4 symbols. I don't think that's going to be enough, so we're going to go ahead and spend some fortune. So we spend up to 2 fortune. Let's go ahead and spend both fortune. And each fortune gives us a blue die that we can roll. And we roll pretty well. We gain 2 more swords. We have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swords, and we dealt a point of damage to the hero. That's looking pretty good, so we're going to stay on that. So the Dungeon Lord has rolled 6 swords and 1 wound. This wound token is placed directly on the hero's armor. If the Hunter's Cloak takes 4 wounds, it will be breached, and a critical card will be gained at the end of the story. It's now time for the hero to roll and see if he can get more swords than the Dungeon Lord. Hero always starts with 2 white challenge dice. These are the same as the Dungeon Lord's black. Since the story card was an agility challenge for walking on the white tiles, we get to add a big red die, which is the bonus Rannick has for being so agile. We also pick the burglar skill, which gives a bonus blue die. So Rannick's really good at agility. Hero now rolls the dice and sees if he can score more than 6 swords. Let's say that's our roll right there. Hero has rolled just 3 swords. It's not looking good at all. In addition, his ultimate's powered down because the Dungeon Lord played that annoying Plague Beetle from earlier that took away 1 charge. It's not looking so good for the hero. An important decision you have to make throughout Fallen is it time to push it? Is it time to go big and see if you can win the challenge? Or do you need to let this challenge go so you can save up for later? I've got something I think we can do. The hero has a hand of cards, and we're going to try and see if this works. Hero's going to play the card Cheat. Cheat is a power card specific to Rannick the Thief. It reads, for any challenge, immediately gain a charge. Now the ultimate is powered up and ready to go. It says if you immediately play another power card after playing Cheat, reduce the cost of the new power card by 1. I happen to have another card in my hand called Healing Salve. Remove up to 2 damage from your armor card. We're now removing this damage the Dungeon Lord did, and the sneaky little thief has got his ultimate back up and reduced the damage. With the ultimate back up, the hero's going to go ahead and use it. If it's charged with all 3 charges, the hero can use it in the light or dark. Right now we're in the dark, so he gains 2 blue dice. We roll these dice, and let's say he gets 2 more swords out of that. So now he is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swords. He still needs 2 more. Hero also has the ability to use equipment. Here, the hero can use a long knife, and he gains a blue challenge die if he does that. We exhaust the long knife, showing that it's down, and you have to choose wisely when to use this equipment because you can only use each one once per story card. We roll the blue die, and we have another sword. So now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've tied the Dungeon Lord, but it's still not enough. Hero's looking pretty thin, doesn't know if he can pull it off, but we can always spend up to 2 fortune points to add blue dice. We've committed a lot already to this challenge, so let's go ahead and go for it. We'll add 2 dice. And we got 2 more swords out of that. We have a total of 8 swords versus the Dungeon Lord 6. The hero has won the challenge. So the hero has rolled 8 swords. The Dungeon Lord has rolled 6 swords. The hero has won the challenge. Each time a player wins a challenge, they earn an experience point, which they put by their character card. Experience points are used to gain more skills. Rannick is going to need about 4 experience points to purchase a different skill tree, or he can save up to 5 experience points to go even deeper up that burglar skill tree. Dungeon Lord also uses experience points to upgrade creatures. Takes 2 experience points to upgrade a level 1 creature to a level 2, and 3 experience points to upgrade a level 2 creature to a level 3. It's important to win not only to gain experience, but also to prevent your opponent from gaining experience. In addition to winning the XP, the hero gets to flip over 2 of 3 rewards in the middle of the table. Hero picks any 2 that he wants. In this case, the hero has drawn a fortune and a card that they can claim, or 2 fortune, double fortune. Hero has to choose not only what is good for them, but also they're leaving behind one of these reward tokens for the Dungeon Lord. Hero used some power cards, so let's go ahead and choose the one that gives us a power card and a fortune. So the hero gains a fortune point and gains another power card to add to their hand. See if they can be more sneaky. This goes away. Dungeon Lord has a choice between the big double fortune or another power card and fortune. Since the Dungeon Lord spent a bunch, let's go ahead and grab 2 more fortune for the Dungeon Lord. So we add 2 fortune to the Dungeon Lord's side, and then all 3 of those reward tokens are set aside. 3 more are brought up for the next challenge. So let's fast forward through the story card. The hero from Walk on the White Tiles chooses to creep toward the case. The text is red, and it's a strength challenge that's hard. That gives the Dungeon Lord a bonus blue die. Creature is exhausted. Dice are rolled, hero rolls, and the Dungeon Lord wins the challenge, earning some reward tokens and an experience point. From Creep Toward the Case, we flip the card over, and we see Creep Toward the Case has only one option. The hero doesn't get to make a choice. They're locked into Chop at the Beast. Now there's a serpent involved in this room full of traps, and the hero's trying to get that medallion in the center of the room. After reading the text, story point of damage appears for the first time. This story point is delivered to the hero's armor, and loading that up, trying to deliver a critical card to him. Once again, it's another strength hard. Dice are rolled. Let's say the Dungeon Lord wins again and earns another experience point. With 2 XP, the Dungeon Lord can spend these and upgrade any level 1 creature. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Gibbling, and we'll bring in the Quilled Darter. Quilled Darter has stronger dice and an even more nasty ability. Now, the last challenge for the hero, he can choose between Focus on the Medallion, a calculated, careful approach, or Swipe and Run. Get in and get out before nasty things happen, or so the hero hopes. Now, the Dungeon Lord can always look ahead at the story card. Dungeon Lord knows what's coming up, because this is the Dungeon Lord's dungeon. With that advantage, the Dungeon Lord player can hold on to abilities such as Ultimates, knowing that a big treasure challenge is coming up. Saving cards, that really gives them an advantage in knowing what's happening. Hero chooses Swipe and Run. Dungeon Lord reads the text, and yet another point of damage is dealt to the hero. That's enough for a critical card to be taken, and that's put off to the side over here to be revealed at the end of the story card. It's a treasure challenge, so a treasure card is put in the middle of the table next to the reward tokens. And these mean that if the hero wins, this treasure card here will be won by the hero. If the Dungeon Lord wins, that treasure card will be put back away. So now the stakes are much higher. The hero really wants to win this challenge. Good news for the hero is that it's an agility challenge, just what he wants finally. He's been getting hit with some strength, but it is a hard agility, so the Dungeon Lord gains a bonus die. Let's go ahead and roll that. So the Dungeon Lord's roll starts with 2 black challenge dice. And we'll go ahead and exhaust the last creature we had, the Quilled Darter. Quilled Darter gives us a red and blue challenge dice right off the bat. Let's roll these, see how we do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 swords. It's an okay roll, not great with a treasure at stake. We don't want the hero to get a hold of that card. So let's go ahead and spend our ultimate. Our ultimate gives us 2 blue dice. Here's our 2 blue challenge dice. We got 2 more swords out of it. Let's also spend 2 of our fortune that we have over here to gain 2 more blue dice. Gain 1 more sword. If I was the Dungeon Lord and I happen to have some power cards, maybe this is the time to play them. Let's say that's where we're at right now, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swords, which is a pretty high number, to see if the hero can beat that. For this big treasure challenge, the Dungeon Lords rolled 7 swords. In addition, this was a hard agility challenge. The Dungeon Lord gets to roll 1 more blue die, and he also gets another sword, bringing him to 8. This is a big challenge for the Thief. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve, but this is not going to be an easy one. Thief starts his roll always with 2 white challenge dice. Thief is also good at agility, which gives him a red die, and he's got that burglar skill, which is coming into play again, giving him a blue die. His ultimate is down. He does have some equipment and a couple cards in his hand, and we'll see what happens. 1, 2, 3 swords is what the hero's rolled. He's done a point of damage to the Quill Darter. So we take that point of damage and put it on the Quill Darter card. The good news is that he's also rolled a charge. So his ultimate ability is now up and ready to go. The question is it time now to use all of his resources? Since these equipment cards get refreshed at the end of a story card, there's no reason to save them, so let's go ahead and use them now. The Hunter's Cloak not only helps the hero absorb damage, but for agility challenges, he can exhaust it to gain a blue die. And that's what he's going to do. He's gained another sword. We're up to 4. Hero can also use his ultimate. Let's go ahead and do that. Ultimate gains 2 more blue dice. 2 more swords. We're getting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dungeon Lord's probably sweating at this point. We can always spend up to 2 fortune to gain blue dice. We got just 1 sword. We have 7. The Dungeon Lord has 8. We have to get 2 more to beat the Dungeon Lord. The hero's going to go ahead and play Grappling Hook. The Grappling Hook allows the hero to re-roll one of his white dice, gaining any of the swords and symbols that are on there. So let's go ahead and roll one of these. We got a double sword. We are now at 8 swords. We are 8 to 8. We are tied. Hero is out of equipment. Everything exhausted. The ultimate is down. He's got 2 fortune left. And he decides to play the card Never Surrender. Never Surrender allows him to re-roll any blank dice on his side. We have 1 blue, we have 1 red, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 8. The hero just needs 1 more sword. And we got it. For 9 swords total, the hero has won the challenge. That was a big push by both players. The hero has won the challenge and gains an experience point. More importantly, he gains this treasure card. Flipping it over, we see it's Anirian's Bow, which gives him a red die and allows him to affect the Dungeon Lord's roll. Since this is a weapon, it replaces the long knife. The hero also gets to pick one of these reward tokens after flipping over 2 of them. He flips over a reward token that gives him a power card and lets him shift the shadow track into the light, which would be great since it's been in the dark this entire story. He's going to flip over this one. This allows him to shift the shadow track or do a point of damage to the active creature, the Quill Darter. Since the hero's low on power cards, it's going to go ahead and choose that one. It's going to gain a power card and shift the shadow track towards the light. The Dungeon Lord gets to pick from the remaining reward token and then flip over the last one. And it's a big double shift. Dungeon Lord's definitely going to go that route. Even though the hero finally got it in the light, the Dungeon Lord gets the last laugh and pulls it over twice into the dark. Wrapping up the story, the Dungeon Lord looks at the bottom resolution of the story card, reads it aloud, and awards the hero experience points for the different path they chose through this story. In this case, the hero gains 2 more experience points, which he can spend now on new skills. The Dungeon Lord also gains 1 experience point at the end of every story. The hero's equipment refreshes at the end of each story, and both the hero and Dungeon Lord gain 5 fortune to start. Each player also gains 2 power cards, and they're ready to go for the next story card. So that's a look at challenges on a story card. The hero has to listen to the story to help choose the best path through the dungeon. Sometimes the obvious choice is the best one. Other times, the obvious choice is a trap to lure the hero into a more deadly challenge. Throughout the game, you have to make choices such as, which equipment card do I use and when do I use it? Do I play my power card now, and can I create a combination between 2 power cards? Do I spend my fortune to pay for those power cards or use that for bonus blue dice? Which creature am I going to use? And when do I use my ultimate ability to try and win the challenge? Do you claim rewards to gain more resources? Or do you punish your opponent with more wounds? Or do you pull the shadow track further out of your opponent's reach? Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.